If you're in the market to sell your house in the Windsor-Essex region, I've got something you may want to know. According to the Windsor-Essex County Association of Realtors, there's no better time to do it than now and cross it off your to-do list. The association reports that home prices are up a staggering 24.79% compared to this time last year. Some other notable notes include there were 571 new listings last month, 479 properties sold, which is an increase of 9.6%, and the average home price in Windsor and Essex County stands at $481,221. My friend Rob Benneian, a real estate agent for Deerbrook Realty Inc, rejoined the program this week to provide some perspective on this white-hot real estate market in Windsor-Essex. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. It's the most competitive market Windsor and Essex has ever seen. That's how Benneian characterizes the current state of our white-hot real estate market here in Windsor and Essex County. And it happened to be the jumping off point where I began our discussion with Benneian as we examined just how aggressively nimble this market truly is. Hey, Robert, I want to welcome you back to the show, and I'm excited to talk to you today about the Windsor and Essex real estate market activity, which is keeping you nice and busy these days. So I appreciate a few minutes. Always great to see you, and great and to be here with you this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me on again, Kevin. It was fun last time, and I'm sure we'll have fun again this time. So when we talked last summer, I think it was in July, we were in another year of Windsor's real estate boom, if you want to call it that, and that was probably year 4 or 5 of the continued upward trend of real estate pricing in Windsor, and it hasn't changed this year. If anything, if you want to characterize it as a change, it's only gotten hotter. The prices in the last the first 3 months of 2021 have increased at a rate we haven't even seen before, and even in the boom we've been in for the last several years. The year-over-year price increase from January of 2020 to January of 2021 and February to February, we're seeing like 25-30+% increase in price, average sale price. So where normally if we get 8 to 10% increase in a year, that's a tremendous year for the real estate market. We're seeing double if not triple that early on in this year. So it's been great for our seller clients, a little tough for buyer clients, but that's what the market is now. So you just have to deal with it the best you can, and hire professionals to work on your behalf.
Yeah, adjusting with the times has never been more prevalent than now, absolutely. But when we look at the trend sort of developing, more people from other municipalities are moving to Windsor because of the lower prices here. I guess we could qualify those as move over buyers, and also people looking to buy homes here locally also is a major factor, and the low inventory as well. So I'm wondering if you can quantify those three aspects and how they've impacted the local real estate market?
Yeah, they all kind of tie together, Kevin. The move over buyers, as you call it, is a big factor, because when someone comes in from out of town, let's say they're coming from Toronto or BC or Alberta or anywhere else, another country, we love them coming to live in our great city here in Windsor. But when they do come to live here and buy a house here, they're buying a house out of our market, but they're not replacing it with another house coming up on the market for someone else to buy. So they're taking one out but not giving one back, which decreases the inventory on the market. So me, as someone who lives here, if I want to move, I'm buying a house, but I'm also selling one. So my house that I live in currently, someone else from Windsor gets to buy. So that's a 1-for-1 trade, where when someone comes in from out of town, it's, they're taking one out and replacing it with 0 houses. So the move over buyers, like you call them, are definitely affecting the inventory. So last year when we spoke, we were hovering around ballpark about 1,000 listings in the Windsor real estate market, where a market our size should have about 3,500 houses for sale at any given time. Right now, less than a year later, after we last chatted and did this, we're under 300 resale houses for sale. So we went from 1,000, which is about a third of the supply we should have, down to under 300, which is about a tenth of the supply. So we've seen a dramatic drop off in inventory for sure.
Well, I tell you, it keeps you busy, doesn't it?
It does. It's every client, you've got to make sure that they're fully prepared for what they're getting into, whether they're a buyer and understanding that the unique challenges that this market presents, or if they're a seller, helping them understand the advantages this market presents, but making sure that they understand the right way to take advantage of those advantages.
Yeah, and because of the low inventory, Robert, I'm curious to get your thoughts on your message to first-time home buyers who might be discouraged about looking for something that they can afford. And I guess more broadly, what would be your message to those first-time home buyers about navigating this market?
Yeah, it's definitely, if you're a first-time home buyer, it's tough. There's no sugarcoating that. All you can be with people is honest and give them the best information that you can. But when you're a first-time buyer, especially, you want to have your ducks in a row and all your homework done. You want to get pre-approved for a mortgage with a qualified lender who knows what they're doing. You want to hire a realtor who similarly knows what they're doing. You want to have experts in their field working on your behalf. Like if you had a dental issue, you're going to go to a dentist. You're not going to have your friend who watches medical dramas on TV pull the tooth for you, right? Same thing when you're making the biggest investment of your life. You want someone who knows what they're doing and does it for a living, working on your behalf, both on getting a mortgage and finding you the house. So it's important to have all of the boxes checked before you start your search, because you don't want to fall in love with a house and then not be able to jump on it in time because you haven't done the homework first. So I guess the message to first-time buyers would be get your homework done, and then understand that it is a process. It might not happen overnight where we find a house for you and you get it right away. It might take a few tries. Let's stick with it, and you'll get it done, and you'll reap the rewards of having invested in the real estate market.
And I'm curious, Rob, to get your thoughts on the importance of being sort of aggressive in a white hot market like this, where you have to be decisive when you make decisions.
Absolutely, Kevin. Yeah. So years ago, when the market wasn't so hot and it was more of a balanced market between buyers and sellers, or even a buyer's market, you might go out looking, and in any given day, you're looking at 6 houses in your desired price range and neighborhood, and you've got time to think about which one you like best, and make an offer kind of on your schedule. Whereas now the sellers are dictating the terms of when we're going to look at offers. They're creating a situation that drives multiple offers. So that's why I was saying it's important to have your homework done. So when the house of your dreams comes up, you're ready to pounce on it, and you have to be ready to go kind of that day. So most houses, when they come up, they're sold. I think the average statistic right now is 8.5 days market time from listed to sold, which is probably even underselling it a bit because that factors in all listings, and listings like a new build, for example, might take longer to sell. So actual resale listings are probably selling in more like 5 to 6 days. So you got to be ready to pull the trigger when your house comes up.
Absolutely. And I'm curious to also get your thoughts on if you're working with a seller, what's the best way you would advise them to sort of market their house to get the best ROI or return on investment?
Yeah. So as far as ROI, so there's kind of a couple different categories of sellers. If we're looking at a house that you've actually owned and lived in and enjoyed for years, you may not need to do anything to it. There may be small updates here and there that you might want to do, like a fresh coat of paint, simple things like that. But really, in this market, there's not a whole lot you need to do to prepare your home for sale, short of decluttering and your typical cleaning of the house. People don't like walking through a house that's messy, or there's boxes everywhere. So if you are in the middle of packing for an anticipated move, you want to just kind of put the boxes off to the side so people can navigate through your home. But you don't really need to do a lot as far as renovations go in the way the market is right now. People are just looking for a house that they can buy and make their own. The important part of marketing a house for sale, and I include this in the marketing part because it is one of the most important parts, is nailing the list price. You have to nail the list price. So a lot of people I hear, my neighbor's house sold for 600,000, so I'm going to list my house for 600,000. That's what I expect to get. But that's not the right strategy to go about, because your neighbors might have sold for 600,000, but that wasn't their list price. They were, possibly listed at 499.9, right? And they created enough interest to sell it for 600,000. So if you put yours up at 6, everyone who saw the previous one at 499 went for 100 over. They're going to say, well, I don't want to pay 100 over on this one. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm not even going to bother going to see it. So that's what happens. And then the other category of sellers is the people that are flipping houses too. So if we want to talk about that, the things that people really focus on is kitchens and bathrooms. Those are always the big sellers. And then prettying up the outside of the house too, whether that's fresh landscaping or power washing the siding or the brick, whatever that may be. So
got it. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on the boom that we've seen in new construction too, because I know that's been a big sort of mover in the market as well.
It is, yeah. And we're rapidly running out of land to build on in Windsor-Essex County. One of the hotter segments of the market is the new builds. In fact, I represent a local builder here, and we're already sold out through the balance of not only 2021, but most of 2022. So we have a handful of listings left that we can sell. But if, let's say, you or one of your listeners wanted to buy that listing, you're not going to get that house until the fall or winter of 2022. So that's how far out we've pre-sold our build, and a lot of other builders are in the same boat. And we're, like I said, rapidly running out of land to build on. So the new build market is a huge and booming segment of the real estate market, but it's drying up quickly because there's not much left to build on. So the nice thing about buying new, you get to customize it to your own taste. You get to kind of pick your finishes. You're not, for the most part, going to be in a bidding war like you are with a resale home. So people do like that. They just know what the price is going in. It's the price that the builders listed it at, and not worrying about competing with 20 other offers for that house.
And Robert, I'm curious to, as you know, I have cerebral palsy, so I'm curious to get your opinion on the progress we've made in sort of building adaptive houses for people with disabilities, and where do you think more work in that area has to be done?
Yeah, there's always more work that can and needs to be done in that area, Kevin, as I'm sure you all know. But we're seeing a lot of, whether it's for people that were born with disabilities or develop them later in life for one reason or the other, or the elderly. We're seeing a lot of homes built to those specifications for people's individual needs. So an example of that, if someone's in a wheelchair, let's say, building houses with wider hallways, wider doorways, maybe zero clearance patio doors where they don't have to step over a threshold to get out to their back patio and enjoy it, or down steps onto their patio. We're building them at the same grade as the house. Roll in or showers that you can hook a harness into, all kinds of like open concept type homes. So there's lots of different ways that we're, the builder I work for and other builders as well are cognizant of that and working with buyers on their specific needs. But there's always progress that can be made, and always new things that come up that we try to help out with.
And yeah, Robert, I'm curious to also get your thoughts on how COVID has affected the real estate market. People are still buying and selling homes, but I'm wondering if your job has changed much over the last year because of the virus.
Yeah, I would say almost everything about the way that we've done business pre-COVID has changed. So just to give you an idea, it used to be, for example, open houses. We can't do those anymore. And if you had an open house before on a particularly hot listing, it could be a zoo with as many as 50, 100, 200 people coming through in a 2-hour period or a 3-hour period on the weekend. We can't do those now just because there's no way to safely socially distance during an open house. One of the other things we need to do now too is we're pre-screening everybody that attends a showing, including the realtors. So realtors have to pre-screen their clients as well as themselves, answer a series of questions, and sign a form stating that they don't have any symptoms, haven't left the country in the last 2 weeks, haven't been in contact with a confirmed or suspected case of COVID before they're permitted access to a home. And then we're also encouraged to conduct as much of our business as we can, like you and I are doing right now, Kevin, virtually via Zoom or some of the other technologies we've got available to us. That also includes virtual showings. So I'll go to a home on my own and FaceTime my clients through the property prior to bringing them to it, just to limit the amount of people in the home that don't need to be there. So there's lots of things that have changed. Almost everything about the way we do business has changed, but at the end of the day, it's still the cores of real estate, of knowing the value of a home and how to aggressively market a home for your seller clients and how to position your buyers to get the home of their dreams. Those all still apply.
And Robert, I don't need to tell you that real estate's all about location. So I'm curious, where is the hottest place right now in the city or the county to buy a house?
I would say South Windsor is always hot. LaSalle is very hot. Lakeshore is very hot to come see. And then in the last handful of years, some of the core areas of the city have really heated up. So your Walkervilles, Ford City has really seen a boom. Certain areas of Riverside that were maybe overlooked in the past are hot. So there's not really a bad place to invest right now because it's all trending upwards. But your core areas where perhaps there wasn't that value before are definitely increased tremendously in value.
And in terms of real estate investment, I'm curious to get your thoughts for anyone who may be a home flipper, as we talked about earlier, or a real estate investor. What would be your advice in this market for success this year?
Yeah, so you need to know if you're flipping or if you're a long-term investor where you're buying it to let's say rent it out to tenants. So if you're looking at it as a flip, the purchase price is key. Not every house works as a flip, just because the house is going to sell for whatever the most someone's willing to pay for it is. But if the most someone's willing to pay for it doesn't make sense for what it's going to sell for once you put your renovation costs into it, that's not the house for you. So and if you're buying it as an investment, you want to make sure ideally you're making positive cash flow on it monthly. That's not the be all end all, but obviously most people want to make a little money every month on their investment. The long-term play in the investment is when you sell it in the future at increased value, but people obviously like the cash flow of the rent. But the shorter term play, obviously the flip, like we talked about, you got to make sure that you've done your homework on what the ultimate highest investment value of that house is going to be once your renovations are complete. You need to know what your renovation budget is, and then that dictates your purchase price on the house as it is currently.
And Robert, I'm curious to ask you about what your community is talking about, whether it's being the clients you work with or other real estate agents. What are some of the things that you are talking about in the industry in terms of trends, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, people just continue to be, even us realtors, we continue to be surprised by some of the prices we see houses selling for, right? Feels like every single day I see a house come up sold and I'm like, wow, I can't believe, the sellers got that much for that house, and good for them, right? Because it's, like I said earlier, it's your biggest investment, and it's your right and your duty to sell it for as much as you can. That's your nest egg. So that's kind of the main talking point right now, is just how much the real estate prices have increased. So the most recent statistics, because March hasn't come out yet, but the most recent statistics for February were the average sale price was 482, I think 482,000, somewhere in that ballpark, just under 5. Where 4 years ago the average sale price was about 250. So it's trending upwards, and it has been for the last half decade, if not a little longer. And there's no signs of it slowing down. There's lots of positive things happening for our community. Lots of big companies are investing here or looking to invest here. So there's all kinds of positive reasons to continue to invest here in the real estate market and enjoy all that our city has to offer, and enjoy the benefits of owning real estate and the increased property value.
And Robert, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but March is Women's History Month. So I'm curious to ask you about the impact that women have had on your life, buddy.
Yeah, so real estate, to kind of tie this all together, has been a part of my family since the 1930s. So my dad's dad immigrated here and opened a real estate and insurance company, Benneian Real Estate. And when he passed, my dad's mom ran Benneian Real Estate for about another 40 years until she was in her 90s. So she's an inspiration for me. She was a tough cookie, my grandma. Obviously, my mom is very important to me as well. I've got a sister who's a year younger than me, and a girlfriend who's had a great impact on my life. So I've got great women surrounding me. Deerbrook is actually owned and operated by two sisters. So that's I work for two amazing women here at Deerbrook. So yeah, International Women's Month. I've got great role models and people I look up to, and friends and colleagues. So definitely.
Absolutely. Women are at the forefront of changing the world. I'm
sure
you would agree with that. But I'm curious to finally ask you, what do you expect to be sort of the trends that we're looking out for the rest of the year as it relates to the real estate market?
Yep. So the projections coming into 2021 were that we would see about a 15 to 20% increase in real estate prices across Windsor-Essex County. We've already surpassed that based on year-over-year numbers. So I would expect the original projections for the year to get blown out of the water. There's no signs of cooling down. Everything, everything that comes up seems to sell, like I was saying earlier, under a week. Multiple offers well over the listed price. So it's a great time to be a seller. And if you're a buyer, the time to buy is now, or as soon as you're ready, because it's not getting any easier. That's just the honest truth of it. So like I said earlier, get your homework done, line up your ducks, and let's get rolling.
Absolutely. I have one other follow-up that I forgot to ask you about. In terms of saving for a house for first-time home buyers, I'm wondering, as a real estate agent in the position you are, what would be your message to anybody looking to save for a house in this market?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part, right? Is saving up that initial down payment. A lot of people struggle for years to save up the down payment. I actually just had a client recently who's in her mid-30s who bought her first house and has been saving that down payment for her entire working life. And that's the the really fun part about being a realtor is helping people realize their lifelong dream, right? Some people, for one reason or another, are able to buy homes much sooner in life. Some people later, some people never. So it's saving up that down payment is definitely the hardest part. I would say talk to a mortgage broker and a financial planner and make yourself, a detailed plan of how you're going to get to your down payment, whether it's, it's 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever you want to put down, whatever's comfortable for you and whatever gets you the house that you want. You gotta set a plan. You gotta stick to it. It takes a lot of financial discipline unless, you're getting help from somewhere. If you've got family members or whoever that can gift you a down payment, obviously that changes the equation tremendously. But getting that down payment saved up is definitely the toughest part. So setting a plan and being diligent and following it is the best way.
Self-discipline is hard to do. I've got to do it with apple pie, but that's another story for another day. But I'm curious to ask you if anybody wants to get connected with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, my phone doesn't leave my side. It's been going off here while we've been talking, and I'll be returning all those calls as soon as we're done. But I'm accessible 24/7. The only time you can't reach me is if I'm with somebody else. So my number, I don't know if you want to include it in the show description. I can give it right now. It's 519-977-4625. You can also email me as well. I can send you my information, Kevin, and they can post it, or you can post it in the video if you want. But I'm accessible around the clock. There's no such thing as a holiday in real estate. A lot of times people will contact you to see a house on, let's say, the long weekend on the Monday. And they apologize for taking up your holiday, but really there's no such thing in real estate. You're available around the clock if you're in it full time, which you should be. So
I got you. I always tell people that the grind never stops.
No, yeah, it's sun up to sundown, and oftentimes quite earlier and quite longer than that. Sometimes you're getting emails or calls or texts right into the early morning hours, and that's okay because that's the job, and we're helping people live out their dreams. So that's what we're doing.
And it keeps food on your own table too. So cheers to a paycheck, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Rob, it's always great to see you. Thank you for taking a few minutes to talk real estate here on our local market of Windsor and Essex. And I want to thank you for being here. It's most appreciated.
Thank you for inviting me, Kevin. Anytime.